You're so smart. You don't think an illegal immigrant has ever voted in the presidential federal election?
Probably not.
Oh my God!
Okay, so today we're going to review this Jubilee video. It just came out. It's Democrats versus Republicans. And I'm going to react to it because it pretty much turns out to be a battle between straights and the LGBT community. It's pretty crazy. And I think two of the Democrats are actually straight. One guy, one girl are probably heterosexual. And the other two are queer and, my favorite word, non-binary. It turns into kind of a train wreck, and it's exciting. I'm going to watch it. So most of this I've already seen, and I'm going to react to certain parts. There's some parts that we just don't have time to get into because I don't want to make this video forever and a day, but we got to check this out. So let's get to the first prompt.
I'm Ka Takahashi, and I'll be moderating this discussion, Democrats versus Republicans. The shooting at Trump's rally will change the course of the election. Will the agreeers please step forward?
I think everybody has seen the picture of him raising his fist, and I'm from Texas, and so all of my friends have been posting it, and I'm friends with a lot of Republicans respectively, and they've been posting it, and it's kind of an empowering thing now, and it's kind of causing people to want to vote for him. And a lot of moderates are saying it now as, oh, he is strong, and like what he went through, like he can go through anything, you know. So a lot of moderates now are leaning towards wanting to vote for him, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah, he was shot, but let's call it what it is. It was an attempted assassination, which failed. Obviously done by a liberal, because Republicans would know how to shoot guns.
That's not true. It was a Republican.
Not true.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
It was Matthew Crook.
I'll go ahead.
Republican.
Blue, so.
Okay.
He donated January 20th, 2020.
So it starts already. So let's read this fact. It says the gunman at Trump's rally was Thomas Matthew Crooks. He donated $15 to a liberal campaign group called Act Blue in 2021, but records show that he was a registered Republican. Now, I've gone to a lot of debates with people online about this, like saying he was a Republican. He was not a Republican. And yes, he could have registered that way because his parents told him to. Maybe his parents are Republicans. And that's another thing that I think a lot is missed on this exact topic, whether the assassination was by a Republican or a Democrat, or just a progressive lunatic, which is what I call him. So I think him rebelling against his parents is probably what pushed him to the left and the progressive side. I hate even saying the left anymore because it's also divisive anymore. It doesn't matter. But him being pushed to the left, possibly by his parents, but the government, whoever's in charge of this investigation, they are keeping cards to the chest. Like, it is the most annoying part about this for me is the fact that they won't release anything, and then they're lying. They're literally lying to us about the fact that they can get into his phone. It's the FBI, the CIA can get into anybody's phone. It's not an issue. And the fact that they're using this to delay the information that comes out because was he acting alone? They have all the text messages, his emails. They know what was going on, but they won't tell the public about it. So that's the most frustrating part for me anyway.
And then he registered as a Republican September.
Yeah, because that's to create a narrative. If you're a school shooter or whatever, an assassination.
This is
That's why he wore a shirt. He wore a shirt called Demolition.
Party does not matter.
This has been a plan for 3 years. Yeah,
meditating.
You don't think
regardless of the motives,
let me
he
just
was shot.
You don't think a person that is a murderer or an attempted murderer probably has fantasized about it for longer than 3 years?
No, people do stuff
He's
like that
probably
on a
killed
whim.
animals. I'm just saying, if you're going to be a shooter, you're probably fantasizing.
No, people do that stuff on a
So
whim.
yeah, I
all
would
the
say that
time.
it would make sense that he's probably thought about killing somebody for over 3 years.
I mean, yeah, probably killing somebody,
Exactly,
but
you
it's
agree with
not
me.
like.
Okay, let's let Emily finish her point. Let's let Emily.
I'm very well known. I do common sense takes. Okay, left, right, doesn't matter. You try to assassinate someone. I'm going to safely say you don't like that person. Okay, you're probably on the opposite team. Other than that, yes, I intake a lot of news. It's what we all do for a living. Everyone woke up. I see all the stats, everything going up. We vote on, who's going to win, all these things. Every single person with a brain is like, he just won.
Okay, so the egomaniac Emily, she's on my side, but she is pretty stuck on herself. And, good for her. She's got a great following and she's done well for herself. But she's right. I think that solidified the election for us temporarily, but things are changing now because they removed Biden, put Kamala in, so we're going to lose a lot of those female votes and possibly people of color votes. So yeah, it did have a substantial impact, and I think it helped us as Republicans. I think it helped us.
The way that it changes it, though, is that it validates a very falsified argument that Biden wants to go after his political opponents. Okay, well, Tulsi Gabbard said it on Bill Maher recently. Okay, so Republicans are, propagating that theory that Biden wants to go after political opponents and he wants to promote like political violence, right? And obviously, you're already saying that he was a liberal.
Propaganda when
so it's
Biden said that Trump needs to be put in a bullseye 5 days ago.
5 days ago.
Yeah, when
He
did
tweeted it. He tweeted it. And
It's on his Instagram, right?
So the SAN fact check here says, when pressed on his bullseye comments, Biden said it was a mistake to use the word. I didn't say crosshairs, I meant bullseye. When Biden was answering to this exact accusation, he was full of shit and demented anyway. So whether he said crosshairs or bullseye, it wasn't a subliminal or undertone message for anybody to try and attempt to assassinate Donald Trump. It was just what he said. Like, I take the Democratic side on this one. Like, he meant bullseye, just like, we got to focus on this guy. And that's true. They want, everybody, hey, look into Donald Trump and see how bad he is. That's what they're getting at. They weren't, telling people to go out and do what was just attempted. So I think when our side, the Republicans, use that as like, see, the left is calling for violence, like, come on, read between the lines a little bit. Trump said the whole blood in the water thing, and that freaked everybody out. But they took it out of context, just like we're taking the bullseye out of context too. So a little bit, I defend the Democrats on this
Right now,
the
as well.
campaign took it down.
Oh yeah, of course they took it down.
Great.
Real convenient, but I don't know if that's propaganda.
But I want to ask this question, Danny, and it's like saying, yeah, my girlfriend goes to another school. When you say your friends feel empowered by this, just admit that you feel empowered from that video. Seeing
No, I don't at all.
You're telling me you
No,
didn't
I think
get
it's
any sense of
embarrassing.
pride
No, I
after
saw
getting
that.
shot, standing up, raising your fist, saying fight.
Is it bad for me to say I'm
You don't
kind of
like that
happy
at
it
all?
kind of happened? I don't
That's
know.
bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Here's why it's wait, hold it, bring to you. You're happy that
I'm not happy what
you
happened
just
at
said
the
I'm
rally.
kind of happy that.
I mean,
happened.
yeah,
What are
I
you
hate
happy
Trump.
about? Yeah,
I hate Trump. Maybe
so much
it
so.
scared him.
Okay, but what's going on in your life that you wish murder or death upon somebody?
I don't.
Exactly. This part drives me crazy when the left screams, I hate Trump, Trump bad. Like, the Trump derangement syndrome is real, 100%. And I can't stand when liberals act like he's the second coming of, Stalin, Hitler, all the things they compare him to. It's just nonsense. It's stupid. It's literally so far-fetched because they have been told by mainstream media, social media, their friends, all the liberal people who are freaking out, saying that Donald Trump is this bad person, and he's not. He's really not. Like, he said this a million times. He hosted a gay wedding at his house. He's had several gay events. He supports Caitlyn Jenner. He supports all LGBT people. And for them to call out that he's bigoted, it drives me insane, you guys.
I wish that he died.
But you just said that you'd be happy if he did.
I'm
I don't
glad
condone-
he
I don't
didn't
condone
die,
violence, but I
okay?
hope I
I'm
see
sure someone out there loves
Wait,
it very much.
hold on, Alex. Repeat that
Wait,
again.
I want you guys to both say this out loud, very clearly. to
Wait,
the
what did you
camera.
just say?
I said I don't condone violence, but I hope I see something.
What does that mean?
It means that Trump got it coming to him. He's been saying this shit for years
Yeah,
and
I hope
years
you guys
and
get a nice
years.
position Secret
There's
Service.
bound to be
Nice.
some point where a Republican or a Democrat, somebody loses their shit and says, I'm not happy with the president saying all this all the time. I'm not happy with him trying to destroy democracy. I'm not happy with him trying to destroy the American dream. That's how my generation feels.
Is
That's
that-
how
is that
plenty
how
of
America
people
is
in
now?
the
Really
city
quick.
feel. That's how
Okay, so later on, they'll call him out on this constantly, that he says he wishes something should have happened. And that's disgusting. This dude is just as bad as Destiny, and we all know what happened with Destiny. I am super bummed out that Destiny didn't get, officially canceled for all the shit he said. Like, when Destiny said that he thought it was funny, or he wouldn't have a problem making fun of somebody who was unalived at the event, and if people complained about it online, he would make fun of them. And he said he doesn't take that back. He would openly mock anyone who was crying about a lost loved one because they were a Trump supporter. That's disgusting. That's despicable. Like, I'm at a loss for words on that one, as far as how low of a degenerate human being you have to be to say some shit like that. Like, that's effed up, you guys. And this dude on the Jubilee, he's just as bad.
plenty of
Is
people.
that how
in this
America
county
is
feel.
now?
That's how 70 million people.
We're gonna go and kill
Really quick.
people.
Do you condone? Do you?
Okay, so he just said 70 million people feel like killing Trump. Basically, that's what he said. It's bullshit.
Yes, that's exactly what happens
Well,
all the time in America.
Do you condemn the Trump shooter, and do you condemn political violence?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, good. So here's why this changes everything. It is because we just saw an image of our president, somebody that has been politically persecuted for years. He was impeached twice. I was there in Battle Creek, Michigan, on the night of his second impeachment. This is a man, and you may not agree with it, but what you just said is that you hope something happens. And when Republicans hear that, when conservatives hear that,
She's
does
nodding
sound
her
like
head.
people want violence. And,
Well, somebody from the Heritage Foundation just said that they want a bloodless revolution so long that the
but
left
that's
doesn't
wrong,
have it.
and that is wrong. that is completely wrong. And what you just said.
But these are the people, these are the pundits that you're
and the
relying
reason-
on.
I don't rely on them. You don't know anything about me. You don't know what I watch. You don't know who I listen to. You don't know where I get my.
Well, let me. What did
And I want to finish really quick. The reason why this changes everything is because we just saw a man who was politically persecuted. He was shot, and his first instinct, was to get up, bloodied, beaten, raise his fist, and tell his supporters to fight. Whether or not you agree with that, there is something in that image that resonates with a lot of Americans, and it displays courage, it displays bravery, and a lot of moderates who you probably disagree with, that is going to resonate with them too.
And he said that knowing full and well those could be his final words. He didn't know what happened. When you're in a state of shock like that, when something like that happens to you, he knew those could be his final words. He's going to go and tell his supporters to fight. See, this is the problem. You guys incite violence. We don't incite
What
violence.
was January 6th then?
January
So
6th,
you're-
Charlottesville.
January 6th was okay.
You just said
You
that
guys-
it started. Happened.
100 million Americans are pissed off right now. We just saw our favorite president get shot on national television. Where are the riots? No, I see peaceful. I see peaceful support outside of Trump Tower in New York. I see peaceful support all across the country. Social media exploding. Elon Musk endorsing him. That's how we protest. How you guys protest?
When the left's convicted felon got shot, George Floyd, you guys rioted. When our convicted felon got shot, peaceful protests.
Okay.
That's just what I was going to say. When George Floyd got shot, BLM was created and cities were burned to the ground. Lives were lost. Individuals were put in jail, but only a few. And then they bring up the Jan 6 as if it was some sort of violent insurrection. To me, that's a disingenuous argument. Jan 6, there are a lot of theories around it. I haven't studied it personally as far as the ins and outs. I do believe that it was a setup. Like, they've proven that they had people on the left there pretending to be on the right, pretending to be with the Trump supporters and kind of egging on the people, let's go take over the White House, let's go, fight for our rights. And there's video of the guards pushing the button and letting all the protesters in to walk around and take a tour of the building. Literally, I don't know. The Jan 6 thing is a mess for sure. Or to even think that Jan 6 was as bad as 9/11. Give me a break. Nobody got killed on the day. The only people that died from Jan 6 was one of the security, like I said, I'm not read up on it, but one of the security guards, but he died from, comorbidities later on, like a stroke or heart attack. And give me a break. Trump is going to release all the prisoners from Jan 6, and I can't wait. That's what they deserve to be released. They don't deserve to be in jail. And Bo talks about that a little bit here in a second.
I assume you genuinely mean arguments about people on the left being more violent than the right. But at the end of the day, to the actual prompt being asked, no, I don't think it will impact the election ultimately.
I have a really simple question. What do you think about
before we
side?
rebuttal? Let's hear from all the disagreeers, then we can jump in.
Yeah, I'll build on that. I think we're too far out from the election for people's memories to retain this. Things move quickly.
It's less than 4 months.
Yeah, 4 months is an eternity. What were you doing 4 months ago? Do you even remember?
I know exactly what I was doing.
I don't think I'll forget.
Well, anyways, the point is the news cycle moves so quickly that people are inundated with new things.
But
And
the
4 or 5
picture's gonna be
things.
in text,
Hold on.
Let him finish.
Hold on.
Let him finish.
4 or 5 things are going to happen between now and then that overshadow this. And the saddest thing that I'll say in conclusion is we're hard into gun violence. This really wasn't that big of a deal in the end. Sadly, I hate to say it, but a guy dying in the crowd, 2 people critically injured, and the ex-president of the United States nicked in the ear by a bullet should be a big deal. But gun violence is so prevalent in America that people are going to shrug this off. Watch in 2 weeks. Nobody will be talking about this.
Do you think gang violence in Chicago?
So he's got a point that we are kind of numb to gun violence. Like, don't look. But they're not going to let go of the assassination attempt. No way. Even though the country is sort of numb to gun violence.
I think gang violence in Chicago is the same as the former president of the United States almost being murdered. Can you repeat that? You're saying that shootings happen all the time, so it's not that big of a deal. Do you think that the common gun violence that we see in this country, right, shootings happening in inner cities, is the same or equivalent to the former president almost being assassinated?
No, I think the shock of gun violence is what is similar, and people have become hardened to it.
And the way that the media treats the shooter, I mean, it's the same narrative that everybody's trying to build off of. What kind of gun was he using? He was 20 years old. He went to school. He was a loner. Like, everybody sends all these tips saying they knew him. That, like, it's getting the same treatment as any other mass shooting.
Wait, really quick. I have a really quick question.
I want him to, because he hasn't asked a question.
I just want to say, what's your name again?
Guy.
It's your name, Guy.
Thank you.
You said people are going to forget about this, but you know what memes are, right?
Sure.
You don't think Donald Trump raising his fist, being shot, will be a meme that lives longer than all of us combined?
No.
Bingo.
Mugshot, that's still around.
What do
You don't think that'll be? Wait, you don't think that'll
I don't think it was that iconic of a moment. I think you guys are blowing it a little out of
That's
proportion.
fine. That's what you said.
Wait, so what happened with Reagan?
Assassinated.
What do you two think about your guy on your side here saying that he hopes something happens?
I would
I
condemn
disagree.
that. Yeah.
Good for you guys. That's
That's
the
good,
moral.
'cause I wanted-
By the way, he's not saying he hopes. He says he has it coming to him, but based on
No, he
Ah,
said he wants
don't
something to
say
happen.
that.
You can go back to
He wants something to happen.
clarify it?
I would actually like you to. Can you clarify
better
what
clarify
you
it, dude.
meant by that?
Yeah, you're gonna have a knock at your door. You better
Yeah.
clarify. That's Marley.
There's some points where all of this is going to start boiling over, right? There are people on my side that get very violent, that get
Yep.
very vitriolic with their comments, right? I went to
Psycho.
UCLA, and I'm seeing that we have a lot of students who get very in their minds about their politics, about wanting to protect Gaza, about wanting to make sure that their voices are heard from the left in the Democratic Party. The same thing happens with you guys, though. So we have extremists on both sides that are going to come at some point.
That's not the
That's
same.
not boil it over.
That's not has nothing to do with
So here he's avoiding the fact that he said Trump should have been shot. Like, what a piece of shit, this guy.
You said you want something to happen.
Because I want this shit to be
attack.
over.
But
Wait, can
Donald
I make
Trump,
a
even
quick
if you don't agree with
comment?
politics, why would you wish death on him? He doesn't wish death
I
on
never
you.
wish death on
You
him.
said you hope something
You
happens.
hope something happens.
But what is that something? I hope that there's some sort of political boil over, right? We're edging to a point where there's going to be some kind of civil war. There's going to be some kind of like interstate violence that's happening.
all right.
So you're hoping for
You're
violence.
inciting
Yeah,
violence.
Robert E. Lee over here.
I hope that we break the point.
point.
I hope that we break the dam where we don't have to keep fighting about policies and whether or not we have conspiracy theorists in government. I hope that we get to the point where we're done with all of it and we can get through this antebellum era.
Does the
that we're
fact that the two people on your side, reflected and said that that's going too far, does that make you reflect on your words and think that maybe you took it too far?
No.
As a Republican, in my life, I talk to thousands of people a day. I have never heard a Republican ever say they want Biden to die. Okay?
I have.
I have.
Okay.
Oh
Hey,
my
whoa, whoa, whoa.
God,
This
you're
is my
right.
opinion. Okay? It's not your opinion. It's mine I'm sharing right now.
For the record, the audio is Jubilee. That's not me. I'm sorry about that. I'll try and fix it in editing, but I don't know that I will
sure
be
you
able
have,
to.
and I'm sure that's normal. And I guarantee right now, Republicans have said that. Guaranteed. Okay. I talk to thousands of people a day. All my friends are Republicans. I've never heard a Republican I know personally wish death or harm against Biden. We simply want him to not be president anymore. Okay.
So the prompt here is a convicted felon should not become president. And I'm going to do a little spoiler alert right now. This one gets a typical liberal progressive talking point brought up, and it's, guess what? They pull out the race card, of course. And it's pretty hilarious, actually.
Convicted felon should not become president. Who has something
I
on the
wanna say
prompt
this on the
specifically about
prompt.
the
Yeah, go, Alex.
Well, first of all, you guys,
convicted felon should
you
our
guys are
president?
obviously very racist for saying that because 1/3 of all Black African American men have a felony conviction. So
Are we is it okay for people to throw out the racist word in this debate? Is that
That's not
are we considering
racist.
that
you're the racist because you want
I
1/3
would
of Black people
never
not
accuse you
eligible
of being
for.
racist, my friend.
Well, then why are you so against people having a felony? America's.
I'm not- no.
Let me just say this: America's built on second chances. A lot of people make mistakes.
Sure.
So a person, whether they get arrested or not, I want to live in a world where we give second chances. So you say somebody gets arrested and they should be negated from having any public office.
No.
I think
No.
that's what you.
I would love to go into detail.
that-
if you
that
want to
doesn't-
talk
that
about
doesn't
it.
mean
I would
that's
love
fair.
to go into detail.
That's what you-
Let's try and avoid an attacking.
I'm not trying to
other,
personally
right?
attack.
No,
I'm
you
saying
already
that
did.
they're
You called us
racist.
racist.
Well, I'm saying that I guess
As a
kind of-
rhetorical.
Okay, so I got to chime in on this one because this issue, like I talked about, he brings up, actually, my side brought up the race card, which we shouldn't. But okay, so the statistic that he's talking about is that why is it 13% of the population, which is African American or Black, they are responsible for 33% of the non-fatal violent crimes in the United States, which is like robbery, rape, felonies, anything violent but doesn't end up in a fatality. So, and the 13% of Black people are responsible for 36% of non-violent crimes. So the other, if you're curious, I can let you know, the other population is 18% Hispanic or Latino. The Hispanic and Latino community is responsible for 21% of non-fatal violent crimes in the United States. So what Alex is trying to do is very disingenuous because he's trying to flip the script and say that Greg is racist because Greg knows that all of those numbers I just gave you, the 13% is responsible for 36%, 33%. So that's 72% of the crime. So that's what, in a broad stroke, they say, why is that? That's a common Republican talking point is they'll say, why is 13% of the population responsible for 70% of the crime? And that is a shitty statistic, and I think it's not a race thing, it's a culture thing. And I'm not afraid to talk about stuff like that. I don't talk about it a lot just because I don't have a lot of the background info, the statistics and stuff like that. But I mean, there's no denying there's inner city violence, and inner cities are mostly populated by people of color. So there's going to be more crime there, and those people are the ones who are committing it. So there's no way around that. But for Alex to sit here and accuse Greg of being racist because supposedly Greg knows all those numbers I just gave you, that's bullshit. Alex shouldn't have done that. And Greg, although I dislike him a lot, he is in the right for calling Alex out. And because Greg gets a little heated about this, watch.
Let's try and avoid an attacking.
I'm not trying to
other,
personally
right?
attack.
No, you
saying
already
that
did.
they're
You called us
racist.
racist.
Well, I'm saying that, I guess.
As a rhetorical
back
flourish,
down,
but it's too much, and you need to be a little more respectful of other people.
Okay, but still, you might still be racist. I don't know you that well. My point is, you're trying to exclude a big population of the country that are African Americans from running for office, and I think that's a disrespect.
Well, and neither.
See, that's bullshit. That's a bullshit talking point. I'm embarrassed that this guy's conservative. Like, I don't think I'm conservative. I think I'm a Republican. And because I have some liberal values, and y'all know I am pro-choice. So that's a liberal stance right there, especially amongst these conservatives over here. So I have this like Republican law and Republican views on that sort of thing. But like I said, as long as the states are allowed to decide whether abortion is legal or not, I'm cool with that. Like, that's great with me.
All right. Well, here's why I don't think it's disqualifying. I think it would be one thing if Donald Trump was convicted of, say, taking foreign bribes and benefiting from foreign countries as a result of his office. This is more or less business improprieties, and he was convicted on 34 counts. Can any of you list 4 of those convictions and articulate specifically why those charges disqualify a man from being an effective leader?
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about as well. It's like so my opinion on that prompt, which is, should a convicted felon be allowed to run for president? I think the answer should be actually no, they should be disqualified. If it's a violent crime like rape, robbery, if it's a crime against our country, a crime against humanity, but somebody convicted of a felony, 33 counts, but it's all paperwork and business stuff. It's nothing to do with physically harming someone. It's not stealing money from anybody. It's just him moving money around on paper so he doesn't pay taxes. What I don't know what he actually did, and I don't think anybody really does. I think they just convicted Trump on 33 counts of BS just to get him out of the office, which we all know that's true. And if you want to argue with me about it, that's fine. But I know for sure that's what they went for, to get rid of him. And it didn't work because America got behind him even more. And now with the assassination. But yeah, if somebody's convicted of a felony and it's a violent crime, yeah, 100% they should not be my president. That's the way I see it.
The inciting the riot at January 6th, right?
He didn't
You guys,
incite it.
yes, he
Anybody
did.
answer my
Yes, he
question,
did.
or
And
you
you
would-
guys are
I would love
saying
to.
you don't support political violence
So
because
what
of what
happened
just
said
happened at Trump's
peacefully.
rally, right? You guys are attacking us.
See, again, January 6th was not that violent. Yeah, they went in, but it might have been, my conspiracy theory, my Alex Jones brain tells me that there were progressives and liberals in that crowd of Trump supporters egging them on. We need to attack. We need to get in there, and we need to stop this election from taking place. So that right there drives me crazy. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next prompt. If Trump is elected, I fear the country will move too far right. This is where it gets juicy, you guys.
If Trump is elected, I fear that the country will move too far right. Will the agreeers please step forward?
Of course.
All right,
Let's get started.
2025, Project 2025. Like, this is a clear agenda that's been outlined by people that are involved in the Trump administration.
Okay, so the fact check is, and this is true, I saw and this fact check is somewhat accurate because I watched the Republican National Convention, and Trump did say in front of everybody, he said, Project 2025 is severe right. That's what this is saying. He did not come up with it. And some of the proposals he said were very extreme. Now, there are some things in 2025 even I agree with, which it sounds crazy because I am trans and I do look the way I look, but a lot of it is well-meaning societal growth for humanity. Like, it's a positive thing. That Project 2025 is not, I mean, it's got some shitty things in it, but it's not the end of the world. Like, and like I said, Trump said, it says right here, Trump, I don't know what the hell it is. So it's just like the Jan 6 thing. They love to use it as a talking point.
In my lifetime, the Supreme Court made it illegal for two people of the same gender to be arrested for having sex in the privacy of their home. So when I see things in Project 2025 that talk explicitly about emphasizing nuclear families with one mother and one father, when I see, actually, it goes into great detail about the low-key, covert ways of disempowering, like dismantling the rights and privileges that LGBTQ people have fought for the last.
So here we have Ryan bringing out the LGBTQIA probably victim card.
I find that really scary, and it also goes into great detail about how to limit, curtail, and ultimately do away with abortion, access to birth control. My grandma was a feminist, and I'm kind of glad she didn't make it this far, because she would be petrified at what. It's totally cool for women's sake to choose to live a life by conservative values. It's unacceptable to impose conservative values on women. And the same is true for LGBTQ people.
I agree with him 100% on the you can't impose rights, or you can't impose your laws on women, but it's, if they want to live a certain way, like, who doesn't want that for every community, whether it's LGBT or feminism, it doesn't matter. This dude is the classic victim.
The same is true for all of us. And there's no version of reality where a second Trump administration does not do all of those things. Like, to his point, 80% of the people who worked on Project 2025 are former appointees. So, I hope we're not going to disagree in a minute about whether or not Project 2025 is the thing, because it is. And I am not a dramatic person. I'd like to be pretty level-headed, but I am genuinely, I feel like my safety could be compromised to the extent that I have to leave as a queer.
Victimhood, oppressed champion right there. That's what that is. And like I said before, 2025 will not come to fruition. There's no way. It's too extreme. It's way too extreme. And I mean, what if Trump is lying? What if he says, we're going for this 2025 thing, but he won't get enough support, because our country, like, as divided as it is, like, a lot of it will come together. Like, even Republicans like me don't think that 2025 is all that great. But so there's no way he needs to live in fear of what he's talking about. This is just the mentality of these people that put themselves in the minority category just to be oppressed is absolutely atrocious.
Person, if he wins and is able to do what he has plainly, and his movement have plainly promised to do.
So let's bring on the disagreeers.
One, I'd love to, if we could stop the pity pretend party. Trump is not an anti-LGBTQ president by any means. I mean, this is a man. Rick, are you guys gonna ignore Rick Grinnell? He made an ambassador. Are you guys gonna ignore the log cabin Republicans hosting events that I've been at Mar-a-Lago? Again, I'm very traditional, me personally. A lot of things in Project 2025 I would agree with, but Trump does not, and that's why he's publicly denounced it. I don't know why everyone's acting like this is these are all his policies. These are all the things he's going to implement. It's not even close. And I don't know why you guys are just pretending like it is. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I'd love to know why.
Do you want to speak to the prompt specifically about the country moving too far to the right if he's elected? You don't feel?
I don't. I would love to see us getting, because I think like the family unit is like the most broken thing in America right now. I'd love to see the family unit be fixed, and a lot of traditional values be reestablished. And I think we could have America to a much more traditional state where we were thriving, and the Judeo-Christian values that our country was founded upon.
How do you do that? You get rid of gay people?
I gotta say, there's no version of history in America where people like me have thrived, so I would hate to go back.
Yeah, you still
You got a whole month out of the year. Your flag is flown at the White House. Your LGBTQ people are invited over to the White House. They're given positions. Sam Britton, the gay people are given positions all of the time because of their.
I gotta say, at first I thought you were kidding.
I am very traditional. I am Catholic. I don't agree with same-sex marriage, but I think it's extremely narcissistic for you to say that you would feel unsafe if a more conservative person got into office. As somebody who disagrees with your lifestyle, I could not care less about what you do. I would go ahead and go do it, but nobody is threatening your life.
And that's what I want to drive home to with all of the people on the left who attack me on Twitter, saying that they're going to come for me and they're not. I get called a pick me, which means like I'm putting my hand up as a conservative so that they pick me when the conservatives take over and commit the G word, the genocide against all trans people, which isn't going to happen. But like I said, that's what their big fear is.
I would go ahead and go do it, but nobody is threatening your life. Like I say, the country, I'm going to go ahead and finish.
I apologize.
This country has been, Biden has been an extremely progressive liberal president. And if Donald Trump got in office, the country would absolutely move right, but it wouldn't move too far right. The Overton window has shifted so far left in the last 4 years that a lot of people that are moderate are now being on the right. I mean, you have people like prominent figures like Joe Rogan, who is a self-proclaimed socialist who voted for Bernie Sanders, now saying that he's voting for Donald Trump. And so I think that.
See their faces when he talks about Joe Rogan and these guys laugh. Joe Rogan is a respected member of society as a whole. He is loved by the left and the right. Now, Joe Rogan used to lean, I think, left. I think these guys got it wrong. Like he was a centrist probably, but still more liberal, and he still has a lot of liberal values. He thinks everybody should get an equal paycheck and everybody should be allowed to get what their neighbor gets just because their neighbor got it. But Rogan also knows that, a hard society creates tough people, and that's what the world needs to survive. We can't just be soft for the rest of our life. And Rogan has that mindset, but the Dems have gotten so crazy with all the antics and the bullshit media and lying to everybody. They even did push Joe Rogan to the right a little bit. Like he's almost on the right now. He's still, I think, in the center, but he does a pretty good job at staying in the middle. But these two victim assholes, that's what I'm gonna call them. They're just victim assholes. That's the best thing I can say.
That is a common thing amongst moderates because it has gotten so far left. And I think being right nowadays just means that you don't want your country overrun with illegal immigrants. You don't want your daughters and sisters raped by people in the bathroom or having trannies in their bathrooms. And you want a secure border.
He just said trannies, and the fact that people don't want trannies in the bathroom raping their daughters and making the women uncomfortable. Like, I agree with that wholeheartedly. You guys know I don't use the women's room, and I have my reasons, and everybody that supports me, I love you guys to death because you do always, encourage me to be more positive about myself and less self-deprecating, and I get that and I appreciate that a lot. But for these two to freak out over the tranny word, I use the tranny word. I don't use it a lot. Like I will never intentionally say the word tranny, but I've said it like 6 times now, and it doesn't bother me. It used to be that the word tranny was like the N-bomb or the F word, the F-A-G-G-O-T word. And he says that too later, I think. So yeah, it's just the virtue signaling for these people to virtue signal to a person like me saying they can't call you a tranny. Yeah, you know what? He can. And I don't care. And that's the difference between living your life free or living your life as an oppressed victim. Not being worried about being called a certain name because it's going to devastate you or affect your mental well-being. That is not their problem. That's, like I've said before, that's a you problem. I don't need to be concerned with what people call me. If they threaten me, a physical act of violence is a lot different than someone calling someone a name. Yeah, names can hurt, but it's not the end of your life. So you don't need to virtue signal for me in order to earn your brownie points in the Oppression Olympics.
I need to respond to this, and I really appreciate being allowed to finish.
Oh, we got. So Ryan wants to respond, and he wants everybody to let him finish because he doesn't talk enough.
And by the way, I want to just clarify.
Are you
the
done?
raping and killing is I'm talking about not transgender. I'm talking about illegal immigrants.
Understood.
Just
So I want to be clear. Sexual orientation is not a lifestyle. It's not a choice. It's not optional. It's not choosable.
What?
He's
You
good,
can
right?
choose who you have sex with?
You can choose who you have sex with, but you cannot choose who you're attracted to. It is what it is.
I don't know about
Sure.
that.
Okay. Could you please?
That's a topic. That's a topic for
Let's just-
Obviously, I don't like Alex that much because he's kind of exaggerated in a lot of his views and points, but he's wrong on two counts there where you can't choose who you're attracted to. Like that's in here and here. So who you're attracted to isn't like a choice. That's, like I said, the heart wants what the heart wants, and the mind and body is attracted to a certain thing. I think that's almost an immutable characteristic. And if it's changed, then it's done from some outside force, which would be called conversion therapy.
Look.
There's gay men that don't have sex. They don't have gay sex.
Would you
We're not
please
gonna go into that.
choose to be attracted to me right now?
No, because
We're not going to go into that, you guys.
I am.
That is another.
Okay, I would really like to finish. I really like to finish. Look, I understand why you, as someone who has not lived a queer life, would not understand why someone who has would feel really petrified by this moment. And I get it. I realize that it's hard to appreciate other people's experiences when you haven't lived them. And what I resent, to be honest, is that you're not willing to take my word for it. That you seem to think that you know well enough to be able to speak cogently to the experience of people who do feel scared, do feel unsafe. And I appreciate that that there are values that you hold that you would like to see upheld further. And I appreciate that too. But I was an adult when I first had access to a conversation where the word values didn't mean I was kind of only sort of allowed in the room. There are people who say things you just said, and right after that, talk vaguely about how people like me are a threat to children just by being near them. And
I don't believe that.
well,
Okay, I hate to stop it here because I wanted to let him get his full thing out, but what he just said right there is important now. It didn't used to be 6 years ago, but yes, now, because of the onward push from the progressives, it is dangerous to have children around anybody in the LGBT community because people who aren't in the LGBT community don't know who's a bad faith actor, who's trying to indoctrinate children, and who's trying to like literally force them to be gay or trans. And that's where my LGBT alliance ends hard, is the children. I don't agree with putting a lot of LGBT nonsense in front of kids at such a young age. Let them be kids. That is so important, you guys. I understand that gender dysphoria can be recognized as a youngster, but we don't want to allow medical or surgical transitioning. We only want them to maybe explore it socially a little bit until they're old enough to make those decisions, obviously. So yes, now today's climate is scary for the straight community to look at any LGBT person and say, yeah, I'd be cool with them hanging out with my kids for a day or teaching my kids how to, grow up. And so, yeah, that's a legit problem right there. And he's crying about it. But hey, you guys did that to yourselves. You're the ones who went out and had all these parades and drag queen story hour and started grooming children with liberal teachers telling teachers not to let their parents know, or teachers telling children not to let their parents know that they've picked new pronouns or that they're going to identify as non-binary, which isn't a thing ever, never will be. And so yeah, that's what we're running into, and it's made the LGBT community as a whole look bad for everybody.
I appreciate that you.
But no one here has said that.
No one here has said that, but I want to be clear. The reason why people like me are petrified by what you've said is because I personally, time and time again, and the vast majority of every queer people, of every queer person I've ever known, has lived the experience of a backslide from what you said into something really.
I disagree.
No, well, one of the things you said was not agreeing with same-sex marriage. That's a thing that's really scary for me. I understand how, as someone who inherently has access to the privilege of being heterosexual, that would not seem like that big of a deal to you, to say. But LGBTQ people make up less than 10% of the population. Trans people make up a tiny percentage of the population and are among the most vulnerable people in our society. I got to say, on behalf of my friends who are trans and non-binary, I'm offended that you would use the word. But to be clear,
he said the word tranny, and he's offended on my behalf that guy used the tranny word. That's funny. I've said it now 10 times in this video. I'll have to put a counter on and see how many times I actually said the word tranny.
Semantics.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It really isn't. Okay, hold on. Non-binary person here talking.
yeah, fair, yes.
You can't walk around by just calling people tranny all the time. Just the same way that you can't walk around and I'm gonna walk out here and someday get called it just because I look weird. Just because I have
You don't look that weird. I didn't.
That's sweet.
Okay,
I didn't even think you're non-binary.
Talk about it. It doesn't matter.
You look
What
like a
you
dick.
say really matters. It really matters for affecting people's mental well-being, for affecting people trying to live a better life. People live in this city because it's a lot better to live here than to live in Oklahoma, Iowa, Kansas, because trans people get murdered.
Oh my God, he said tranny, and he said the F word, the F-A-G word. But this dude cracks me up. One, non-binary isn't real, and the word tranny is no longer offensive, just like the word queer.
Gay people get murdered. I don't care.
Yeah,
And I want to bring up one more point that he brought up, that trans people are getting murdered for being trans. That is false. There's only been, that I know of, in the last 6 years, and you guys can fact check me on this in the comments if you want, but I think in total, and I mean in the world, there's only been one, maybe two trans people that were murdered for being trans, and that's because they were sexually involved or they got into a relationship, which could have happened to anybody that was in a heterosexual relationship. It could have been just a crazy lover. So may or may not have been because of trans. I know the one was actually a bigot. Somebody, you guys know I hate the word transphobe, but somebody didn't like somebody because they were trans, so they got murdered. I believe it was a trans girl over in the UK. So God rest her soul. For this oppression or victim card of trans people are being murdered for being trans, that is falsehood. There is not a lot of documented proof that trans people are being murdered for being trans. They're being murdered because they're around sex work, they're around drugs, and they're typically found in, they're interacting with people they probably shouldn't be interacting with, but because they're trans, supposedly, they're forced down that road or that lifestyle. And that also is bullshit. Yeah, it sucks being trans, and sometimes you might have to turn tricks to make ends meet, but there's other ways. I mean, I don't want to work at McDonald's or Taco Bell, but I would if I had to.
fine.
finish. Let's let her go ahead.
And it's just one of those things where I'm like, it's so funny because I'm like, you guys are like so upset. And I'm like, I literally couldn't be more on your team about literally all these things.
You're not, though.
Well,
You
here you
just
have one
got
person
upset
that
about.
here you have one person that explicitly supports LGBTQ, and then you have some person that explicitly doesn't support LGBTQ. But both of us and both, this whole side is saying, do what you want. We're not going to threaten you. We're not going to hurt you.
but
Isn't that proof that there's going to be no
that's not
violence?
what's happening here. That's not
And by the way, I think that self-victimization of any kind is shameful. I wasn't coming at you because you're gay. I think when people make themselves victim of any group, it's shameful.
Is there ever? I just
So it has nothing
I want to let you to
So it
answer.
has to, so you're saying it's not about me being gay, it's that I self-victimize?
Yes.
Okay, that's
That's 100% accurate. I love Aldo. This guy is cool as shit. He knows what he's talking about. He's very calm in his delivery. He doesn't freak out. And he's calling Ryan out for being self-victim. And I love it. It's great.
Well,
a trash thing to say.
Why do I have to lie? You can go on my Insta.
But it has nothing to do with your sexual
I get so
orientation.
much
That's all I'm
hate
saying.
for these
but I'm saying it does. You don't have to mean,
Okay.
you don't have to mean to cause harm to cause harm.
We haven't heard from everyone on this team. I'm gonna take the
So I
floor.
get to say something, okay? And I am empathetic. I have gay family members that I love, but I think in gay culture that gay men have more prevalent sex probably than heterosexual relationships. And oftentimes I would be scared too if the relevancy of HIV was much higher if I was sleeping with men. So I understand that fear, and that isn't.
I'm sorry, you guys, but this dude is so mean. Like, he brings up the race thing, and now he's saying if you're gay, you have a higher risk of being infected with HIV, which that used to be true in the 80s. And I will say in the LGBT community, we have a bunch of drugs now that have come out that don't keep you from getting AIDS necessarily. It just keeps it from being spread. So that's the first thing he goes for. If you guys want to live the lifestyle that promotes you getting AIDS, then knock yourselves out. Like, that's so bad, you guys. I'm sorry. It makes me. I shouldn't be laughing at that. He's such an asshole. Like, oh my god. Like, that's what you go at. Like that's the garbage you want to throw out on the table. That your lifestyle leads to. Like, that's the number one thing you want to go after is the fact that being gay puts you at higher risk for having HIV. Like, that's so fucked up. What an asshole.
A little dangerous. Now, on top of that, when you look at Donald Trump, you say we're going to go far right. Everybody knows Caitlyn Jenner. You guys know Caitlyn Jenner. Well, she's allowed to pee in the women's room. So if
Not in some states.
in all of Mar-a-Lago, so Donald Trump will let a transgender person pee in their bathroom.
And
so that means that he doesn't dislike trans.
The problem is that the Republican platform.
That's a stupid talking point, but in the end, he doesn't dislike trans people.
Does. You
Well,
guys have
I
come
don't
out
know.
here saying it, besides you, that there's a serious problem with LGBT.
I don't really think this is the problem.
You agree that it's not going to go more
Okay,
far right. It's the
let
people,
him
not the
finish.
president.
This is my point. Is I don't think anybody really, even on the conservative side, care about people being gay because there's gay conservatives, obviously. But what's going on now is there's an attack on children now where you have to have a pride flag in first grade. You're teaching sexual education at way too young of an age. And in that sexual education, they're not just teaching you heterosexual sex. They're teaching you gay anal sex. To me, that is called indoctrination. So we don't like the gay indoctrination of young children where you're giving them hormones to reassign their gender that are permanent, that they say that they're not permanent. You're giving kids mastectomies, 14-year-olds. Chloe Cole got a mastectomy. There's a lot of detransitioners. So there's an attack by the LGBTQ community, whatever you want to call it, on young people. If the LGBTQ just wants to do it with adults, I think we'd all be okay with
wow.
it.
That's the face I made when I saw my first family-friendly drag show. I made the same
Listen. I want to be real clear about this.
We don't want drag queen story time.
I want to be real clear about this.
I'm loud and clear.
You're not listening. I wish you would.
He doesn't
Fewer
stop. So
Then
fun.
10% of people detransition. And the vast majority of those people, I'll let you finish once I'm done. Fewer than 10%, okay? And the vast majority of
So the angle he's using is that less than 10% of people who transition detransition, and they're saying it's 8%. Let's not lie about this number. They only surveyed nearly 28,000 people, so it could have been 25,000 people. This is a very disingenuous fact check, and I really don't like it because there is a lot of people detransitioning right now, and it's only going to get worse, you guys, with the social contagion that we've had over the last 6 years, with the 300% increase in trans-identified youth. It's more of the women transitioning to men that made the spike in the population of the trans community grow. Now, there was an increase in male to female trans, but amongst youth, but it's not as significant as the female to male, which just, that one saddens me a lot because, a lot of the claims about, this isn't a choice, I can't take this off, like, I actually can't, I can't rebuild everything down below if that stuff gets removed, but I've had facial surgery and that doesn't matter as far as if I were to detransition. I would have to get my breasts removed and stop taking hormones and my body would have to recover from that. So that would be a bit of a process, but it's not as detrimental. What I've done to my body is not as detrimental to what a female would do to their body in order to achieve the same results that I have. And in the end, the female is going to have better results than I would have, because as you guys have heard me say before in other videos, women transition better. Like, they pull it off way easier than men do. So sorry to get off on that rant, but let's get back to this fact check. Like, he's going to go off about the fact that nobody's detransitioning and then they get onto the suicide rate.
Them specifically report that they do it because of social pressure or being rejected by their family. But
Okay, because they're going to move on the prompt, and I probably won't react to the other prompts because they don't really have a lot to do with the LGBT community, although they are conservative, but I don't want to make this video, it's terribly long. And this is a disingenuous argument that I hate it when people use this one. So in 2021, Harvard research study found that gender-affirming surgeries were associated with a 42% reduction in psychological distress and a 44% reduction in suicidal ideation when compared with transgender and gender-diverse people who had not had gender-affirming surgery but wanted it. So that fact check is very disingenuous because it's only saying that the psychological distress and reduction in suicidal ideation was lowered, but that doesn't talk about the actual numbers. And the suicidal rate before full transition is 49 to 51%. After a transition, it has been studied in Sweden that the suicidal rate does decrease quite a bit. I think 4% it goes down. But then 2 years later, after transition's complete, something that I have right now, after 2 years, that suicide rate goes back to like 52, 53%. And like I said, those numbers will fluctuate. So you can't hold my feet to the fire too much as far as was it 51, 52, 53. But I'm just saying, after transition is complete, the life is lived, 2 years go by, our suicide rate goes back up. Now, luckily, I've been fully transitioned for almost about 6 years, 7 years, 8. So I'm going on about 8, 9 years now. So I've passed that threshold of risk. I've said this before, and I would never try and freak anybody out or give anybody any ideas, but yeah, it is something that we do consider. And like I said before, I've said it before, yeah, I think about it at least on the weekly, maybe not on the daily anymore, but yeah, it crosses my mind, it's just part of living with being trans is that advocate for protecting children against the transition movement. It's the fact that we need to let these kids grow up, be who they want to be, but don't medically alter their life before they have a chance to see both sides. That's all I'm saying. I want to do the end of this prompt just because there's a few parts in here that my good buddy Alex, who I don't like, has a few good one-liners, and we gotta see them. You guys, it's pretty good. Now, this prompt is there should be an age limit to the presidency, and they've gone over. Most agree, yes, there should be a minimum age of 45, which I think that is the law. Maybe 35, but 35 or 45, and then I think it should be a cutoff around 80 or cognitive decline. It's hard to tell. So, but watch this. This one gets a little riled up too.
It can take a toll in their life.
Well, I'm going to pass it on to Emily.
Yeah, I mean, I hope, after him, the next person's younger. Totally fine by me. I would say, though, I wouldn't want them too young. I do think the country is better off with conservative values. And, I don't want some young person running the world that does believe, you can have drag shows in front of children with your penis exposed. And
those are not all the same.
Can I finish?
Sure,
And I don't want someone who's being like, yeah, it's totally normalized to have like 14 gender and all these different sexes and to do things in front of children and open borders are good. And I do think those are beliefs of younger people. And that's why it's impressive when younger people are in right-wing politics. And I do respect it. And that's why I frankly would want someone older that's more conservative. I think it's better for the country and everyone's safety. I wouldn't want this young person on TikTok that's like, I love Hamas. And
like, what's the age limit? Where would you say?
I would say anything under like 45, I wouldn't even be comfortable with.
Did you see that girl's reaction right here? This girl, her reaction when Emily said, like, I love Hamas, and she's like, oh my God, she's an Israel supporter. Like, what a bitch this chick is. A complete bitch.
I just feel like you guys editorialize a lot in ways that are hard for me to respond to because, I would say a point you made makes total sense to me, but you folded in there some pretty sensationalist and not necessarily backed by data.
She has a YouTube channel.
Well, I mean,
okay.
no. I
YouTube
wish we could dig deeper.
channel.
I just wish we
I
could dig deeper. I just wish we would dig deeper into some of this because I think there's a hearty debate to be had over what you call 9 genders or what you say about the border. I mean, I would love to have a hearty, earnest, honest debate about those things. We haven't.
There is no debate. There's 2 genders, and there needs to be a closed border. End of story.
I know. I want to go on to you.
Well, you said candidates. I think the best candidate other than Joe Biden would be Michael Obama, the transgender that's married to Barack. And you vibe with that because you're non-binary. So I think that would be the best replacement. And I do like the minimum age. Like there should be like 25 should be the minimum, but there should be no limit. Like if you can compete.
Oh my God, you said June, the non-binary, just turned to Ryan and said, imagine how small his dick is. And they put the words on the screen, but he called Michelle Obama Michael. Oh my God, you guys, it's so funny. As much as I don't like Alex because he's pretty disingenuous, it's pretty funny. I'll give him that. I'll have to find his YouTube channel and see if I can put a link to it in the description.
In the game, you should be able to play.
Do you always though like find
Michelle-
really shitty ways to insult people? Is that like
How is that insulting? He said he's non-binary. So is Michelle Obama or Michael, whatever. you
What-
call him.
I don't. I guess if I have to explain to you
That
why
Michael has a
that's such a
dick?
cruel thing to say to somebody, there's no point in trying to.
How is that?
I'm gonna take us back.
Oh my God,
Time out. How is saying non-binary cruel? Explain.
No, that's not what was cruel. But we're not.
Well, it's cruel comparing to Michael Obama.
We're gonna move on. Just for time. The next prompt is: with this election, our democracy is at threat. Will the agreeers please step forward?
The reason why this election is such a threat to our democracy is because I think they're going to do it again. I think they're going to cheat, and it's very easy for them to do it, especially mail-in ballots still existing. So if they do cheat again, which I think is highly likely because Joe Biden's a potato and a corpse, I think it is a threat to our democracy because people will lose all faith and hope. And I think January 6th, an event probably much worse than that will actually happen.
Can I ask you a question? Donald Trump voted by mail. Do you have an issue with that?
Oh, come on. I'm talking about.
What do you mean? Oh, come on.
You
That's
do
the
this a lot in this
fact.
debate.
Donald Trump, yeah, I don't care how Donald Trump votes, but I'm talking, I care about the the 22 million illegal immigrants coming. The biggest margin in election was Reagan's last election when he won. He won by 7.
The only thing I worry about with the 2024 election is the illegal vote. Whether it's dead people voting or same people voting multiple times via mail-in ballots, or I hate saying it, you guys, but the illegal immigrants, they're going to find a way to get all of those illegals to put their name on a piece of paper and through the ballot box, and they're going to count. And that's the way the Democrats, mark my words, that's the way the Democrats are going to win this election. If they win, that's how they're going to do it. And only if they pull it off, like, I guess hats off to them for, pulling it off and shame on the Republicans for letting it happen. Like, I think if it does look really fishy, there will be riots. Like, Jan 6 was nothing compared to what we're going to be looking at. And it's going to be BLM riots all over again. And it's going to be civil war, I'm afraid. That's what I'm afraid of. Them using the illegals and then a civil war breaking out, because I think that's the way our country's headed. And I've said this a lot on my channel, like, I would love to divide this country up. I would be so happy if we could just divide the country, let the libs do their thing, we'll do our thing, and see who survives. Guarantee it's the conservatives.
If they just vote for a Democratic candidate, which they normally do, they can rig every election through that method.
People who aren't citizens can't vote.
Yes, they can.
No, they
In
can't.
Arizona,
Republicans made it illegal in 1995.
Okay, no, you're right.
You don't think an illegal? Let me just say this: you don't think an illegal immigrant has ever voted in the federal election?
No, because it's not.
Oh my God!
No, actually, I disagree with that.
You don't think no. This guy, the delegate guy, you're so smart. You don't think an illegal immigrant has ever voted in the presidential federal election?
Probably not.
Oh my God!
I disagree.
Dude, you're gonna get that on tape. That's how slow.
That's how slow he is.
But you don't think an illegal immigrant has ever voted in the?
I want to hear how
We call him slow.
Republicans made it illegal.
I want to
You
hear.
don't think people
I want
break
to
the
hear from
law?
some voices we
You
don't
don't think
hear
people
from.
break the law?
Would you like to share?
What was the prompt? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
You're playing this character right now, and it's really
not a character.
exhausting. No,
But you're
you're
different in the other room.
exhausting.
You're different in every
exhausting.
other room, except when you're on a camera. You have some other personality. That's
I'm a pimp on a black. You guys can't compete with me.
No,
I'm a
it's not
master
even
debater.
Look, what that is.
Yes, you guys are
look,
getting
this is
crushed.
not-
Bring it
I
back
would
in.
feel sad too if I were you.
This is not a competition thing. It's just your
It
play.
is. It's
This is an
debate.
act for you, and it's embarrassing.
It's not an
and
act at
it's
all.
exhausting
You're embarrassing that
listening
you're
to you.
terrified that you can't murder your baby.
Team.
You're terrified that you can't get an abortion and
Team.
murder your baby.
Team.
I know, I'm a baby.
We're
If
talking.
you don't think in your
Team.
stomach that's a baby,
Hey, we're
you're
talking
the one that's
about
more embarrassing.
my friends.
You want to murder
My
a
friends.
baby.
My friends. We're talking about the prompt right now is about democracy. I think we can all agree that's a really important topic to talk about, right? We got an audience right here. People are listening. Let's not waste this time. Am I right?
You know, I've done this thing before, and I'm really having a hard time right now because I feel like we're not trying to find each other. We're trying to make each other wrong, and it's not working for me.
Let's bring this back to the prompt. June, do you want to share something specifically about democracy?
I don't know anymore.
You guys are getting rage quit?
Do you know?
I'm just disappointed in you, honestly.
Okay,
Why?
can you everybody just shut the fuck up so I can talk?
And here we have June, who says, I don't know anymore. I don't want to answer. And then all of a sudden, Alex makes fun of him and asks him if he's going to rage quit. And then June gets pissed off and says, fine, and I'll answer. This is funny shit.
June, do you want to share something specifically about democracy?
I don't know anymore.
You guys are getting rage quit?
Do you know?
I'm just disappointed in you, honestly.
Okay,
Why?
can you everybody just shut the fuck up so I can talk? Democracy's at threat. It's plain and fucking simple. There is going to be a point, there's going to be a breaking point where Democrats and Republicans cannot work together to facilitate any legislation whatsoever. There's going to be a point where the Government Accountability Office is not able to transition the democracy anymore. There's no peaceful transfer of power like there is in other democracies, such as in India, in Japan, in UK. All of those different principles of democracy are going to go out the window. And on previous Jubilee videos, they've talked about anti-Trump Republicans saying democracy is at threat. Pro-Trump Republicans have said we don't even live in a democracy. So choose your fucking statements wisely. Choose who you vote for wisely. Choose which party you support for wisely, because one wants to support democracy, keep going, and one doesn't.
So as much as I don't agree with Mr. Non-Binary, or is it Mrs.? I don't know. He's right. We need to get out and think about what we're going to do and how we're going to vote. I do believe he's right on another issue of we are so divided. There is not going to be a middle ground, and there is no way the two sides can work together. That's why I'm always saying, like, he just said what I had said a minute ago. I wish we could divide this country up, get the libs over there and the Republicans here, and let's see who survives. I guarantee it. The lib cities would just be on fire with boarded up windows. And yeah, you guys got free healthcare. You got free trips to CVS. Everything in Walmart is just for the taking. Like, your cities will be great when they're all out of money and food. Then what are you going to do? You ain't coming to my city, that's for sure. So, because we got the guns, yo. If you think that 2025 is bad, look at WHO, World Health Organization, or the WEF. Those places are absolutely insane. The stuff they want to do to the population is bananas. Like, I read that stuff, that scares me. Almost like Ryan's afraid of conservatives killing him for being gay. I'm afraid of the WEF and the WHO taking over the world and making me eat bugs for a living and chew on plastic for protein. Are you kidding me? Like, that's what they want. I'll take Project 2025 over the WHO or the WEF in a New York second. And thanks, you guys, for hanging out with me. I hope you had some fun with this one. I will look up Alex and Emily and try and find their YouTube channels and put links in their descriptions if you guys want to check out their channel too. And thanks for all your support. I love you guys. Please like, share, subscribe, and give me a comment if you have some time. I would like to chat about anything, especially if anybody disagrees with me. I love a debate. See ya.